So when one thing happens and you're just like, oh God, and then another thing happens, you're like, oh my goodness, right? And we get way down and way down and way down, and it feels like our whole life doesn't work. So what's the answer to this? The answer is to go in our head and say, am I a victim of circumstance, right? Or am I bigger than the circumstances? Is what's happening surmountable? Sometimes it feels like it isn't, and that means probably you need a nap, okay? Or we need a nap, right? So, but when you're living your life and just everything seems to go wrong, you feel, in a way, you feel like, oh my gosh, is God punishing me? Like, what's happening and why? And it makes you feel worse. Your mood goes down, and then you're even less able and less capable of dealing with it. There's a thing called resilience. It's very big. Google it, whatever. Resilience of how we are able to weather storms. And very interesting. Somebody once told me, they said they taught people, and people who had these idyllic lives or whatever, they lacked a certain level of resilience. Whereas the people who he saw that were were strong and could weather things, they'd been through a lot. I'm not wishing hardship on anybody, but when stuff happens to you, rather than feeling like a victim of all the bad things that are happening, maybe there's a way to turn it around and say, I'm bigger than this. I'm bigger than this. I can handle this. Maybe that's self-talk. Maybe it's like going for a walk in the fresh air, even if it's freezing out, and just changing it up so that you just, when so much is going bad in our life at the same time, so many logistic things and maybe even harder things, underlying things, somebody's sick or something like that, it gives, it sort of chips away at our ability to maximize our potential in this earth. And when people talk about reaching their shlemus, reaching their perfection, working on their character traits and being a better person, being resilient and being able to, mastery over what's going on between their two ears, that kind of mastery. It doesn't mean you have to be perfect all the time, but it means that when you feel like a victim of the circumstances in your life, maybe journal, but when you're feeling like a victim, there is always something you can do about it. Sometimes that's just waiting. Just giving some time, sometimes it's eating a great meal, like saying, you know what, I've been dieting for 2 months straight, whatever, I'm having some ice cream, or I don't know, maybe that's, but I'm just saying that you get a sugar rush and then you feel worse after, so maybe that's not such a great idea. But I'm just saying, figure out for yourself what works for you to make you feel less like a victim of the outside world. We all do it. We all feel like, oh my gosh, everything's going wrong. And if you have standardized ways that you've taught yourself to get beyond them and have resilience about them, whether it's taking a walk, whether it's listening to music, whether it's writing down all your problems down and getting them on a piece of paper and putting it over there, and then being outside of yourself and crocheting or knitting or doing puzzles or playing Candy Crush, or whatever it is that you're doing, figure out ways that you can feel like a less of a victim in your life. And rather than being annoyed and angry that you feel like you're a victim, recognize that's part of life. This is part of what happens. Many times during the course of a week, I feel overwhelmed by how many things are bothering me and how many things are, to outside circumstances that are troubling me. And with the right pre-thinking of how you're going to deal with it, you can be much stronger. This is Leah Richeimer for The Marriage Minute. We'll see you next time.